reading. I said I was gonna read this book called The Frenzy of Subhain. Subhain. Um, During that time, there was a lot going on. It's between the Irish and all that stuff. This is all on my little quest to find the backdoor energy, the BS that was making the idea of the word legitimizes my it was in my last reading, but the reading is like 3 hours long, right? Me figuring this out was like 3 hours long. I literally, like, this whole time I spent like about what 4 or 5 hours literally researching this topic, reading this book, asking questions, like all this stuff. So the cards are still out here is like letting go of that NPC energy, like restoring its true code energy and then letting it like decimate properly because it wasn't really supposed to exist this long, basically. Mr. Meeseek's energy, it wasn't supposed to exist this long. It literally was torturing everything and everyone around it. It was causing so much havoc. There was like some time travel stuff that went down. It was really crazy, okay? And then this energy came out, which was the main thing about it, was like that was the main thing. Um, and now I figured it out. Okay. So the reason why it came out, so at first I said it in my last reading, I was like, did they take a drug or something? My intuition seemed to be spot on. At first I even thought it was cocaine, like because like such frenzy and stuff like that. But then like as I did some deeper research, it was like cocaine, but it caused like blisters and stuff like that. And then like the guy was really going through it. There was withdrawal symptoms. There was all sorts of crazy ass shit going on. The reality within the situation, it was something like even meth. It was like a plant, something like that, right? It was taken from like before Vikings, around well, not before Vikings, but around the Vikings in Norway. Then there was Swiss involved, and then Ireland was involved, and this was all pre towards the Greek. And then how the Greek got involved with it at first, I was trying to figure it out because the whole idea of hysteria being that they thought that it was a woman, that oh women are not like they were trying to justify why they thought that women were naturally hysterical and that hysteria from women, and that like when you ask them, so what is hysteria, they go, oh, it's women wombs. It was some crazy like, oh, what is a table? Well, a table's a table, right? Oh, table's a table. Like that's kind of that's where they got also this idea that women were like I don't know what the fuck was going on, well, up until now. And the ancestors are coming out through this like as well, and it was like this is like deep hypocrisy as well. It was like came out to where it was like I'm pretty sure it was a woman herself who had done like a lot of the damage there, who like I don't know what the fuck happened there, but no. But I did some digging, and I don't know if you guys would believe me or not. Not clickbait. This is not clickbait. I repeat, this is not clickbait. Okay. Um, Basically the whole sequence of events that happened, right? And I'm going to try and read it out here real quick because this was like so annoying to find because there's so many like distractions, so many like yeah, because like children are involved too. Like there was something about children and I was like, bruh, like the children were like telling about butter, and there was a game with the drug. I was like, what the fuck? They thought it was a game. Like then there was a whole different types of monastery that weren't involved in the whole situation. And oh, y'all, this was a journey. This was a journey. That Three of Wands was not like playing. It was a journey. I'm sorry, my chat is fucking up right now. But basically, um, yeah, I was trying to figure it out. Came to the conclusion. My shit is all fucking lagging. 444. Well, basically, back in the 5th century BCE, right? So back in the 5th century BCE, um, yeah, there it is. It's loading. back in the 5th century BCE, people really didn't know like what wombs really are other than dissecting animals, right? So they would only understand like, for example, like, okay, so let's look it up. Let's see where it is. Okay. So basically it's all tied to necromancy, by the way, like shocker, right? So basically necromancy, oracle of the dead, necromantia in Greece, right, at Ephyra and Epirus are active. Pilgrims consulted the dead, so they were actively performing necromancy rituals, right? So people did know about something called hellebore. This is as close as we can get. So it could be any plant whatsoever, but it definitely did have psychological effects to hallucinations and stuff like that. With the performance of necromancy, the psychological damage, and the drug, they basically were also using it as a purgative and a cure for madness. I shit you not. They did know of a frenzy, of a madness and hysteria before the word was made. Hysteria. So, no dissections, womb taught as a multi-chambered based on animal analogy. So there was just no idea about the womb, about what was going on with the feminine anatomy, nothing like that. And this was in 500 BCE. This was before Christ. So people generally didn't, abuse the idea of a womb or womanhood or anything like that. Generally, it was like some sort of equity before that. Even if there was it was some sort of equity before that. Women were not blamed for whatever it is that women are trying to be blamed for now. Like whatever it is that people are blaming women for now did not happen before 550 BCE. Like people did not go, oh, well, she's crazy because she's a woman, right? People did not do that. But there was necromancy. Okay, so they did have hysteria. People would naturally be hysterical. Then during the Hippocrates era, right, Hippocratic era, corpus written, uterus described as a movable, wandering womb, no human dissection. So they didn't even know really what a womb looked like on a woman in a woman's vessel, other than that they took a whole bunch of motherfucking drugs, and that a lot of people were using hellebore. Like a lot of people were on it, and then they were even using it as a poison, but they didn't realize how it got to that point of being poison. I guess they just didn't even do that. But Plato, 4th BCE, actually condemned the necromantic rites. So they were like, so Plato and stuff were like, Plato and his, peoples and stuff like that were like, wait a minute, you know what I mean? Maybe we shouldn't be doing all these like hallucinogenics and like poisonings and stuff like that using this specific thing, because I think that the people that are using them are, might not be on the right side. You know what I mean? Like they might not be doing things correctly. And then necromancy like was condemned through that. I believe that's not believe, but I'm pretty sure that's just how things went down. Like they were doing a hella, like let's say they were doing these drugs, and then they were using it for necromancy, and then later on, like, you know what I mean? Gontes or Goetes or something like that, basically. Then by 350 BCE, they basically would do all these like crazy ass things, right? And they would be taking these drugs, and then they would do these things, but then midwives and physicians also record case knowledge. So like they would be like, oh, like this is like women's wombs and da 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 da. Then by 325, like about, what'd you call it? 200, maybe, yeah. It took about 300 years for them to like realize that maybe women's wombs aren't the reason for hysteria, and it might be the drug instead. And I shit you not, they were using it for madness. So it would be like people would get angry and they were like, here's cocaine. I know. We see you have anger issues. Here's cocaine to solve that, which is notoriably known to enhance anger issues. So then cause like frenzy and all that shit, right? So then later on, they were still using it for like, you know what I mean, and all that jazz. So, you know what I mean? So let me look up specifically. So úteros. So úteros. So let's see. When did they basically thought that the uterus could move around the body, pressing on organs and creating symptoms as choking, anxiety, and frenzy. Plato said basically at that point, the womb is like an animal inside an animal, causing women illnesses when deprived of sex. And Aristotle had basically figured that women were colder than men and their reproductive organs defined their weaknesses. Basically, then Hierapolis actually dissected female cadavers and described the uterus anatomically. The belief persisted that only women suffered hysteria because the word came directly from hysteria, aka hystera, which by the way isn't even supposed to be hystera. It's supposed to be ustera. I'm just saying ustera, which would be womb. Ustera, not hysteria. So that's another thing. They're probably on fucking drugs, which makes a lot of sense now. If you're ever wondering, oh, why did the great philosophers and all those people really think those really awful things about women? Well, they were on fucking drugs. Sorianus basically rejected the wandering womb, still treated tied to urine health, enforced sexual deprivation in women. So hysteria, linking sexual deprivation. But the whole thing was to basically associate women with sexual deprivation as to make it seem as if that women were the ones who were sexually deprived, and so men had been forced to be, you know what I mean, forced to rape them, I guess, to rape us, I guess. But basically, they were on fucking drugs, and then they were like, you need me to rape you because you're definitely deprived of sex. And they would do this to kids too, like girls. And then that was it. Then they try to cover it up. Basically, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. That's why it was associated with devil. And they also like explain it like how we know it's like cocaine and like stuff like that. Also, it's like, yeah, I see it. It's like, yeah, it most likely would be something like cocaine, because then it would also like, because those specific ones would also like make like their dicks hard. Like it would literally, it would be the only thing, because like women would get drier after taking those things, right? Yeah, women would get drier, but they would be the ones that would get hard. Like men would get hard when on those drugs. So then they also would claim as if that it would be lustful women trying to call them in and stuff, like on some siren shit. That was another thing. Like, yeah, they're really like, that's basically it. Which is why it's the King of Wands in reverse with the King of Pentacles in reverse. Basically, it's a pimp, a drug dealer, a drug user, someone who need like all that jazz. It makes sense now, right? So these were individuals back in the day that used to pimp girls out and then also sell drugs at the same time. And then it would be like, it was like the hood back then. Like, I shit you not, it was the hood. Like, if you could imagine it being, it was a hood. Like, they claim to be nobles and all that jazz, but they're actually hoodlums. Like, big on that. And they only cared about sex, drugs, and money type stuff. Well, more so sex and drugs. Yeah, and like reputation and shit. Yeah, Two of Cups in reverse. A lot of it had to do with, yeah, exactly. Like a lot of it is like they didn't receive any proposals. They didn't get any grace. I mentioned this in my last reading. Yeah, I mentioned this in my last reading, how they didn't receive any grace. They didn't receive any proposals. So most of it, I figured, most of it was like, what'd you call it? Yeah, Six of Swords in reverse. Yeah, they're like, no wonder. It was like, and they also mentioned like Cerebus's mouth foam and shit like that, which is like, there's some stuff about bestiality there, and like using these things like, oh yeah, like rabies. Yeah, rabies and animals. So it's like some of these things, okay, it would be like these animals, like certain animals would like eat these plants and get like rabies like symptoms, right? Where they couldn't eat or sleep or drink water or anything like that. Whereas when humans took it, it would be a different reaction. You know what I mean? It would be like a frenzy, like anger frenzy, like hallucinations, and like, especially from all the like, they probably felt like it was moving all around the body because like they saw it like type stuff, and like, you know what I mean, and they could never do anything wrong, right? So like it was basically that energy. It was just like basically it this the transcription that I was reading, like, I'm not gonna lie to you, I didn't read the whole thing. Obviously it probably has a lot of information in it, but what I gathered so far was that the main guy who did the crime was on drugs. Like there was just no other way that he would all of a sudden break out, like especially when he was with his wife. I think that's what really took me, like what I really had like noticed was that his wife was undressing him, and then the bells rung, and then he got like into this giant frenzy. So probably the resonant frequency also, like people were getting really, would you call it, like back then it was like there were certain individuals who had to be like exercised, and like they were used to pouring holy water on those, like because it was like they were drug addicted. I'm pretty sure that they were on motherfucking drugs, like they were on some coke like shit, so they had coke like symptoms. And so yeah, obviously in the middle of him about to like, have great like sex with his wife, is what he believed, like suddenly took off in a frenzy that he barely remembers. And then he started getting like, remission symptoms with blisters and all that jazz, obviously also trying to blame his wife type shit, like because I don't know what the hell, right? Maybe some sort of, he thought probably curse that his wife then put on him, when actually it was the saint that called out the entity out of him. Like it was a lot, bro. Honestly, it was a lot. Like it was a lot, and like Chad did not even say a quarter of what really happened, but basically, and I way more than Chad did. So like, I don't know what the fuck. Y'all, this was a fucking nightmare. I don't know what the hell, but I see why Jesus had to come in like impromptu. Like it just felt like it distorted history, or what was supposed to be history so much. Like things were actually going really well, huh? Like trades were going well, everything was going well, and then everybody got fucking drug addicted. Like they got really drug addicted. Like drugs were like opioids. Even China was it. Like everybody was involved. Everybody was in fucking involved. Everybody was involved. It was crazy. It was so common. It was like people didn't even know why people were like, it took the government, basically. Think about it that way. It took the government to cut up a cadaver and be like, wait a minute. I think that women aren't the reason why. Like that was crazy. And like previously before the drugs, they didn't think about it. Like they didn't have any idea of what the fuck. It was really weird. And it wasn't based on no experiment like, oh, like these are shamans. Like those are like regular people. Some regular folk using like strong opioids. Like, yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm getting. Some fundamental spiritual practices being abused. Like the druids and the shamans could have told them, but then there were also those individuals who were definitely doing necromancy. And like necromancy isn't all about like necromancy isn't all about, oh, I'm like when you invoke someone who's dead and you like start speaking to the wall or some shit and then like being like, I'm hearing voices. No, it's more so like they would like actually dig up dead bodies, put them on a table, do a rite over them, and then like in a lot of these like grave sites, the drug was there. Like a lot of the plants for those drugs were there. So like they would like probably eat those plants and then like get all fucked up and then start looking at the body and then like all sorts of crazy shit starts going down, you know what I mean? And it's like they just they wanted to justify why they couldn't figure out what was going on. And it's like, bro, you were tripping fucking dick. You were tripping out. Tripping dick. Yeah, that's what it was. It was quite literally like, and then they were probably getting hard and having orgies with those like around those bodies on top of them, getting all sorts of blisters and diseases from the plants and just having all sorts of STDs, man. What a nightmare. What a nightmare. Like it like what the hell, bro? Like actually like that's why they didn't want to fucking tell people. That's why because it's like how do you know? How did you figure it out, huh? How did you figure that the woman a woman was the reason why it's like, well, I ate this plant, right? And she told me to go into this she's really big fat, big titty goth chick. And we went to this gravesite, and I thought she told me, and then she starts yelling at me, and I'm like, "Why are you mad at me?" And I got really mad, and I thought, well, she's got me, and it's what? She just need badly get fucked. So we fucked on top of the gravesite, on top of the grandfather's body, and all of a sudden I'm running around like type shit, like you know what I mean, like bro, what? And that's why you thought that women cause hysteria and are hysterical? Like what? So you so you ate a drug, raped a woman on top of a dead body, cut her open, blamed her for what you saw, and then lied to everyone about what you saw and how you came to see it. There they are, grievances. So they wanted to hide the grievances of the divine, all the signs that that was not the thing to do, not the way to go. And it's like, that's also another thing. Like, that's what they didn't want to tell you guys as well. When you're in a deep hallucinogenic state of mind, a psychological state of mind, the ancestors, God, and the divine can actually guide you even easier in those states. Like that's why shamans use it. So it's like if you're wrong for doing what you're doing, like you might see an ancestor that be like, no, you can't go there. You can't do that. You can't do that. You can't cut her body up. You can't eat that plant. That plant is bad. Like you might even experience that. You might experience divine intervention in your hallucinogenic state where the ancestors, spirit guides, like they all come about like because you're in an altered state of reality. They're gonna come in and be like, you know what, like let me just let you know right now, since you're not gonna believe half of the shit that you're going through anyways, and help you out here. And they'll express that. So that's also what they didn't want to like let people know, that they literally did not listen to. Like they actually chose whatever devilish ass feeling and action and false reality that they were constructing in their head over the actual, even their hallucinogenics were telling them no. Like the mushrooms will tell you no. Like they will come about and be like, I know you ate me. I just want to tell you that never to do that again, okay? Like literally. That's why shamans, like they are usually the ones that have access to those realms, and then like through their experience and all that jazz will be like, you know what I mean, like they're like, oh yeah, me and the shrooms, we go way back, like you know what I mean, like you actually have to have like respect for God and for Jesus and Christ. And that's why I mean, like these regular folk who know nothing about what it is that they were doing, who were barely apprentices, and they were like, I don't know what it is that they really, and then they like experienced the reality of the truth, and then they still like went around and like acted like none of that was real. Like Like they didn't just get visited by the apostles themselves to tell them like, bro, what are you doing? Like, you know what I mean? This is the part in history they don't want to tell you about. Like how when they rejected what they rejected, how they were also still seeing exactly what they were told that they were gonna see. Like they said, like, you know what I mean? Even if you were gonna fuck up in some type of way, it would have probably been in your destiny to do so. But at least we're still gonna be there to help you type stuff. But they didn't like it's crazy, man. And it has nothing to do with neurological side effects of like the drugs or anything like that. It's all about like character of the person. It really is the character of the person. And their character fucking sucks, man. Their character is ass. Like their character is ass. They received grievances. Yeah, they received grievances. Yeah, I'm speaking the truth. They're like so like it's like basically their character is like you would think it was like stubborn, but really it's like I don't know how to explain to you like their character. Their character is like rotten. That's what it is. Their character is rotten. That's came through with the come through. Yeah, their character was like rotten. Like there's nothing you could do at that point. Like the thing that they really had to rehabilitate wasn't even their neurological systems, it was their actual character, it was their personality, their persona. Whatever it is that they were so inclined on, like making a benefactor in their life, other than the divine orchestration of things, like that's what they had to like let go of. But they refused to do that. Yeah. Well, that's pretty much it for the reading. I can't say that much is changed or going to change. It just seems like a whole lot of cleanup now. Yeah, rebirth and disillusioning, like communication and, like actually communicating things upright. You know what I mean? In a tested and controlled way. Yeah, in a way that actually allows for justice and convention in pure practices. Yeah, there's that devil. So disillusioning that devil and everything has to do with, yeah, because they wanted unconditionality, and it's like, dude, you're on drugs. Like you're tripping right now. Yeah, like that's it. Cycle complete. You're tripping. You're tripping. And they mad. They not tripping and whatever and whoever they are, like, you know what I mean? God bless them and stuff. But yeah. But they tripping. They must want to appear as like my inner child, and then maybe, hey, like I can't explain it, but like they want to make it seem like it's like they want to play. This is another thing, like the kids that were playing with it, right? They were playing with it, and they would like it would be like a reaction, like a physical reaction. Like, oh my gosh. Let's move on from this, okay? This is like a lot, but they're having like a lot of like reflecting to do, but they're not gonna do it, are they? They're not, because they're in the fucking BCEs. Yeah, they're in the fucking BCEs. Like they not doing no motherfucking reflecting there. Yeah, the reflection is going to those that God gave grace to, is what I'm seeing. Yeah, like that's it. So only those with grace are the ones that can reflect. Yeah, exactly. The Empress, me, yeah, like the apostles. Yeah, like, yeah, exactly. And of the misguiding, that's what it is. That was another big thing in my last reading. I said like they were being hugely misdirected. It's like they they were, I can't make it. Yeah, that's there. They were obsessed with, like, how do I explain it? It's like passing the trials of Eden. They were obsessed with passing the trials of Eden. so that they could be attested for by the divine. However, it wasn't their time. And so, yeah. And so that's it. Okay? Yeah. They tried to arrange a false reality where it would seem like Eden, and told stories about it, did drugs around it, celebrated with a whole bunch of alcohol and drugs, and then every time that they were starting to come to their senses or come to their reality, come to face with the reality, they would, try and cover it up with, rape and drugs and lies and whatever it was, even reputation, like literally attempting to justify it. Like, yeah, it's really sad. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching if you watched it. But we're gonna keep on going forward because I don't know what the hell this was about, but I'm sure it's gonna make a difference in the long run. So I'll see you guys later. Bye.